Check one, two. Okay, we are live. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. Today, we are going to be discussing something that I think is absolutely going to be very important to understand more about. I think that this is a specific thing that gets brought up a lot when it comes to the occult and when it comes to spirituality as a whole. And I think a lot of people are truly struggling with this specific topic that is at hand here. And I can completely understand why. And this is why I'm going to be covering this in as much depth as I personally know how to go into with this subject. So, we're going to be discussing the relationship between spirituality and working with occultism and being able to actually utilize your own intuition as well as body sensations and emotional indications to kind of follow the path that is going to be right for you. Okay. So rather than having to do things exactly according to the rule book or according to what it is that you might be reading, we are going to be going into why it can be very important to utilize your own intuition and follow what is right for you instead. Okay. So if this is something that you want to learn a little bit more about, then you absolutely have one thing to do, and that is simply to stay tuned. And I will see you on the other side. Okay. So let me first start with introducing myself, just in case you don't know who I am. My name is JeremiahJSchwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planetary energies in association with astrology. And I'm also very aware of trauma and its relationship to the nervous system. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into the subject. So, the reason why I'm feeling like this is something that is going to be important to talk about is because there are a lot of people that I have come across, throughout my time working with spirituality and being involved with it, especially being a teacher in this field, where people come to me and they basically ask me certain types of questions along the lines of, hey, is it okay if I do this? Okay, am I allowed to do this? Is this something that I'm able to do, or is this spirit or is this certain energy going to get mad at me? Okay, so I have a lot of people that have, absolutely come to me with these different types of questions. And they are asking me for basically my guidance, but also in many ways, they are asking me for my approval on these different questions that they're having and that they're bringing to me. Now, of course, in the beginning stages of your spiritual self development process, this is something that probably is going to be quite common. It may even feel a little bit natural for you in the beginning, and I understand why people do this. And there's nothing wrong with doing this. But at the same end of that token, there is absolutely a lot of people that are asking questions to people like me or other types of authority figures in this spiritual field. And they're asking questions looking for some form of approval on if what they are feeling is right for them. So I really want you to understand what it is that I'm saying as I'm saying what it is that I'm saying. Okay. People are asking for approval to people like me that are in positions of leadership on, is it appropriate for me to listen to myself? Okay. So clearly, with that being said, there is importance to being able to ask questions, but also at a certain point along your process, you might be doing this at the cost of listening to yourself. and being able to tune into your own intuition and follow through what feels right for you specifically. So I feel like this is definitely one of those things that has, in many ways, also set me apart from a lot of other people, when it comes to this spiritual community or the spiritual field as a whole, is that, on a more personal level, throughout my process, I have always followed my own intuition for the most part. And I, of course, have learned from other people and still do. And I've studied other different types of literature and different practices, but over all of those things that I've studied and that I've learned from other people, I have always chose to follow my own intuition above all of that. So in other words, let's say for example, I read a book and the book says that I need to invoke a certain energy in this specific way and I need to have this specific setup and I need to say these exact words in this exact way at this exact time. It's like, I might read that book. I might receive this understanding. I might receive this knowledge. But if my intuition is telling me that there are things that I can do differently and there are other things that I can implement, and that maybe I want to do it at my own time that feels more intuitively right for me, then that is absolutely something that I am primarily going to follow inside of myself over what it is that I'm reading from the book. Now, does this mean that I'm wrong? Does this mean that I'm making a mistake? Does this mean that the energies are going to affect me in a negative way because I didn't listen to the rules? Absolutely not. This is me following my own intuition, trusting that my nervous system and my body is able to guide me down a path that is actually going to be healthier and more effective for me specifically. So there does come a point when you are developing yourself within the nest and you are learning from your teachers or you're learning from other people that are offering themselves as support or guides to you, where you have to jump out of the nest. You have to start trusting yourself and becoming your own guide and becoming your own teacher in many respects. And that becomes a whole process. So there's a lot of people that are still asking questions that they actually already know the answer to on an intuitive, a sensational, and an emotional level. And the reason why also a lot of people can get stuck in this specific cycle, largely what's actually driving the cycle is unhealed, repressed trauma that is stored within the nervous system that has something to do with some form of needing approval or needing acceptance from others. Oftentimes, it could be the parents, it could be rooted in the parents. And that is now, once again, still in the nervous system, now being projected in the present moment. So let's say, you were a little kid at one point and you always needed to get some form of approval from your mother or your father in order to do something, in order to do something that maybe even you felt like you were led to do with your own intuition, but you felt like you weren't able to trust that unless your mom or unless your dad approved of you doing that thing. So a lot of people have experienced this within their early childhood, which once again can carry itself, if that is not processed and not integrated, can carry itself into your present moment, into adulthood, where now you're actually just repeating this same pattern over and over again with other things that you're doing. For example, like spirituality, where you are taking in a bunch of understandings and a bunch of information, a bunch of knowledge from other people or different books or, potentially YouTube, and you have all this knowledge, right? You have all this data, but amongst this data, you also have your own internal guidance system. You have your own emotions, you have your own intuition, you have your own body sensations. And there are certain things that you are going to feel better with doing that in many ways are going to be completely unique to you specifically. So if you are cutting yourself off from your own ability to trust yourself or to listen to yourself, then you are going to be cutting yourself off from a large amount of your own potential because you are questioning your guidance system. You're questioning your ability to listen to you. And how far do you think you can get in regards to your development process if you are not able to trust you, if you're not able to listen to you? And once again, I can't tell you how many people are stuck in this cycle of not listening to themselves and not being able to really trust themselves. And now, because of a lot of this repressed emotion that once again is from the trauma in the past, that is not being healed, these types of people oftentimes are now in resonance with certain types of guides or certain types of teachers that are just going to reaffirm that belief that they already have where they can't trust themselves. So this is something that is actually super common in the occult field. And at one point in my uh at one point in my process as being a teacher, I would say this is more so around 3 years ago when I was starting off, um, doing like, I wanna say actually this is more like 4 years ago when I was doing more calls with people that were booking with me, from my YouTube channel. I noticed in the beginning stages, there was a lot of people that would ask me all these crazy questions along the lines of, "Can I do this? Can I do this? Am I okay to do this? Am I okay to do this? Is this something that I can do?" And not necessarily, "How do I do this? And what does this do if I do this?" But like, "Can I? Can I have your approval? Is this okay for me to do? Am I okay to feel this way and think this way and want to do this? Is this a bad thing?" So the way that, I was kind of perceiving it more so in the beginning, more subconsciously, is I was perceiving it as people seeking my approval. And they're just literally asking me if I can approve of what they already feel internally. And I did my best to be able to kind of allow people to follow their intuition as best as I knew how. Once again, in those beginning stages of me being a teacher, now where I'm at, I completely can see through what's actually happening and I can see some of these barriers that people deal with. And I always want to draw someone back to being able to listen to themselves and trust themselves. But with what I was saying earlier, though, there's a lot of people that are stuck in that cycle and they're in energetic resonance with other people like teachers or we could go as far as saying mentors or people that are in different forms of leadership where the teacher is actually holding that role of being the gatekeeper towards what the student is asking. So when you find yourself in a dynamic with a teacher that is always the one who has to approve of what it is that you are wanting to do or what you are thinking you or what you're thinking of doing. Like if you're always needing to go back to a certain teacher to say, "Hey, can I do this? Can I do this?" If that teacher maintains that role with you, then that shows a lot of signs that this person is not necessarily looking out for your best interest and they rather would have you in a position where they are being perceived as your gatekeeper to your process. So a lot of people are spending a lot of money to these types of people, literally seeking their approval. And you can already imagine that a lot of these teachers that come from that frame are oftentimes riddled with different narcissistic and psychopathic qualities in many respects. And once again, 4 years ago, I was experiencing this myself when people and during this time frame, I was a little bit more so on the narcissistic side myself, and I was in resonance with it, and a lot of people were coming to me, and it was the same thing. People were just like, "Can I do this? And can I do this?" And it was as simple for me to say, "No, you can't," or "Yes, you can," and everyone would listen to me. So, it's like I could look at a student and they could have their own inspiration, they could have their own intuition, and they could say something like, "Hey, can I do this with this spirit? Can I invoke this energy and do this thing?" And I had the complete ability and the complete power to tell this student, "No, you can't do that," so that I can have a sense of leadership amongst this person or a sense of power over this person. I could have done that. But obviously, once again, with the place that I come from, I don't feel that that is authentic. So that's not what I would do. But I would during those beginning stages when I was getting a lot of these questions, I was trying to figure out what the student was wanting for themselves and then approve of what they wanted. And then once again, as I've grown and as I've sort of matured in the field, I'm actually understanding what place these questions are coming from. And once again, it's coming from some form of a repressed emotion from a past trauma of needing that acceptance or needing that approval, most oftentimes from some sort of parental figure. So now what it is that I'm doing when people ask me these questions is first and foremost, I don't judge them. That's completely fine. If someone's seeking my approval, that's 100% fine. But what I like to kind of do is I like to create a little bit of a space where the student can actually understand that they're seeking my approval. So I like to actually have the energy of, okay, so you're seeking my approval for something that your intuition is telling you. So let me go ahead and help you become aware that this is what you're doing and then draw it back to you and then let you know as the student that you have to listen to your intuition. I can give you my advice, I can give you my own personal perspective, but I want you to know that this is your own unique journey and this is your own unique question as well. And I want you to trust you. I want you to find a way to tap into your own body, to listen to your sensations and your emotions and follow what feels right for you. And that is generally, what it is that I do now when I get these certain types of questions so that people can really, draw back to themselves and understand what it is that it is they're supposed to be following. Because I think one of the most powerful components when it comes to occult initiation and spiritual self development in general is the fact that some of the things that unfold with the spiritual process, this development process, these things have not been necessarily documented. Okay. There are things that are unique to you that no other human being has potentially ever done in this lifetime. So when you are getting certain types of influences that are coming from, we could say, your higher self or coming from the universe at large, sometimes these energies are going to move through you and they are going to require you and encourage you to do things that go against all logic and go against all rational thought that have not necessarily been documented down before. And to follow through with these things, to kind of tune more into that more so feminine energy of surrender and trusting the process and letting go and going with the flow of things, this is going to allow you to potentially do certain types of practices and initiate certain energies through ritual that could be some of the most life transforming things that you've ever done, ever. But you would never be able to tap into this and you would never be able to utilize this until there is a degree of being able to listen to and trust yourself with your own process. Because once again, if you are unable to do that and you're not willing to become aware that maybe you are seeking other people's approval to trust yourself, then you are going to be capping yourself off from, once again, doing certain things that could be some of the most powerful things for you to change your entire life and for you to change the way that your energy field functions. Okay. So when we look at, occult literature, a lot of people see knowledge is so addicting, right? People love data. People love knowledge. People love storing information in the head, even though in reality, most of us, only store a certain degree of information in our minds, and we utilize about 10% of it. So we could have like 90% data stored in the mind, and we're only really functioning and utilizing 10% of it in an actual integrated, healthy way. So people like to look at all the different books and they like to look at all the different practices and the processes. And there's beauty in that. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely a bunch of amazing things there and there's a bunch of value there. But sometimes people get so fixated on the practice and the linear aspects of it, of everything has to be perfect and everything has to be lined up in a certain way, or else it's not going to work, or else it's not gonna flow through. So, like, for example, like I have my own magic training course, which is a part of the Patreon that I have for anyone that's interested. It's the first link in the YouTube description if you want to join. And it's tier number 2 where you get access to that course. And there is a process of how you basically go through this course, and you need certain types of tools, and you need to perform certain types of ritualistic practices with these tools. Now, there are times where people might be missing one tool, or maybe they have the crystals that I tell them to get for the circle of that they're going to be practicing in, and maybe they're missing one crystal, or maybe they end up breaking a crystal or something like that. And then they come to me and they say, "Do I need to start everything all over? Is everything screwed up now? Do I need to go back to square one because I messed it up?" Well, the answer is no. It's absolutely not, because, you know, the tools are valuable and the practice is valuable, but this is all deep, unconscious chaos that we're really working with. I mean, that's the essence of what magic actually is. That's the essence of what the occult is dealing with. And these things are so flexible and these things are so malleable. They're not so fixated. And when it comes to this process, largely, it's what your intention is. And it's the fact that you're even willing to go through the steps with the intention of wanting to develop, or with the intention of trying to create or manifest something that it is that you're working towards. And that in itself is what is going to be the value in this process. It's not the broken crystal that's going to screw everything up. It's not the missing tool that you don't have access to that's going to that's not going to allow you to do this. The magic or the manifestation, the changes, they're happening internally. This is happening within your body on a nervous system, emotional, mental, physical level. And this is what's really important and extremely valuable to understand, so that you're not getting too caught up in the linear aspect of these things, because you're going to drive yourself crazy if that's the case. And once again, I completely understand why people can get stuck in that paradigm. It makes sense, especially when we live in a world where it kind of promotes this way of being or this way of thinking. And then, of course, getting into occultism, you see aspects of it, but the deeper you go into it, the more you start to realize you sink into the void of the unknown. You sink into some of these deepest portions of your unconscious and subconscious mind, and then start to realize all that linear shit and all that structure stuff has its place, but it's primarily rooted in a foundation of intention, in a foundation of trusting, in a foundation of just going through the steps and just being with the process. And that's about it. So when you're reading all these different books that give you these steps to take, there is room for you to get a little bit messy with the process. There's room for you to experiment with your own adventure or your own curiosity, and to do things that are outside of the book. There's even room to not even there's room to read the book and get the practice and then put it down and then do it the way that you feel like you want to do it. Listening to yourself in that way. There's nothing wrong with following the steps in the book, but when you attach yourself to this is the only way, and if I don't do it right, then something bad's going to happen, then really all you're doing at that point is you are just projecting trauma from the past of potentially making a mistake that your parents didn't approve of, and then getting yelled at for it or getting abused because of that. And we don't need to bring that into the present moment when we're working with these different energies, because once again, you're going to cut yourself off from your own potential. So, once again, when it comes to occultism, when it comes to spiritual self development, trusting your intuition is absolutely valuable, and it's in many ways vital. It is absolutely vital if you are wanting to make significant progress with this journey that you might be embracing. So, definitely take that into account and study what it is that I'm talking about now so you can understand what some of these roots are for most people that are not trusting themselves. And if you are finding yourself engaging with teachers and other authority figures that are always giving you yes and no answers to these things, and they're not drawing it back to you and saying, hey, I think you're not trusting yourself, or I think you're having a hard time accepting your truth, then these are going to be indications of teachers that are, most likely just profiting off of your trauma and profiting off of you and your inability to trust yourself. Okay. So, with that being said, this is going to wrap it up. This was the message that I really wanted to communicate. So, if you feel like this offered you value, absolutely make sure you hit the thumbs up button. That lets me know that you gained value from this video. Drop down into the comment section and let me know what you think about this. I would love to be able to hear your own perspective, hear your own thoughts with this. And if you're vulnerable enough, I would love to hear if you've fallen into this cycle yourself. Okay. And if you have, go ahead and share a little bit of your experience being in this cycle so that other people in the chat section can look over that. Okay. Hit the notification bell, get notified whenever I'm posting this content. You clearly don't want to be missing out. Okay. I have a bunch of valuable information that is consistently coming out every other day. So get tuned in. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because by subscribing, you are further energetically connecting to everything it is that I am teaching. So if you want more value from what it is that I'm teaching, subscribe to my channel. All right. Now, also, if you know anyone that would gain value from this video as well, feel free. And I encourage you to copy and paste this link and send it to that person. Now, also, if you have any social media platforms that you feel like will gain value from this, feel free to post it there too. Okay. My intention is to spread this content as much as I possibly can. Okay. Now I'm going to take your awareness to literally the most important link within the entire YouTube description itself. This is the first link at the very top. Okay. You can't miss it. This is my Patreon. Now, on my Patreon, I have an entire grouping of over 260 videos that I have put a lot of time and energy into creating. Okay. Over the past, let's see, 5, 6 years at this point. And all of this content is exclusive to the Patreon members for very intentional reasons. Okay. There is really deep occult knowledge over on the Patreon, ritualistic practices that I'm performing on camera and then teaching you how to do yourself, initiation education when it comes to the tree of life, as well as the tree of death and what these things are and what they look like. Okay, really deep understandings there. How to better regulate your nervous system, how to better understand trauma in relationship to your everyday functioning, and also how to help you create a healthier foundation in your life. All of this extremely valuable content is over on my Patreon. So definitely, if you are someone that consistently watches my YouTube channel and is taking in a lot of this knowledge and a lot of this understanding, and you are not yet a part of the Patreon, then you absolutely need to check it out. Okay, there is tons of valuable content over there. At this point, there's over 740 members that are a part of the Patreon right now actively. Okay, so that alone speaks for itself. All right. So definitely check that out. Tier number 3, going into tier number 4, this is very exclusive. This is a ritualistic service that I perform on the 29th of every single month that has one. Now, let me first start with saying that this ritual service is not meant for everyone. This is meant for people that are willing to do the deeper emotional processing when it comes to this spiritual development process. Now, it's also for people that are more so in resonance with some of these darker aspects of spiritual development. So, this ritual is called the Universe B Vampire Ritual. And once again, it's performed on the 29th of every single month, and the deadline to sign up is the 28th. And what this is an energetic transfer from me to you that is designed to help support you in going into some of these deeper aspects of your unconscious and subconscious mind to start healing from a lot of these past traumas that you've experienced. And it will start naturally surfacing a lot of repressed emotions within your nervous system, and it will bring them to the forefront for you to process them. Okay. Now, also within this service, I am creating some pretty significant changes to the energy field itself, where I'm starting to spin it more so in a counterclockwise direction. So, what this is doing is this is actually tuning you into black holes that exist within space, specifically the one that exists in our galaxy. And this is where that vampiric effect really comes into play. And it has a very strong magnetizing component where you can really start pulling in from darker energies, chaos, and integrate that into more understanding and integrate that into more potential for yourself. Now, within time of doing this, it starts to get refined to a certain point where you can actually pull this energy out of another person. So, for example, you can pull the energy of someone's false self out of their body. You can integrate it into your own power, your own potential, and then simultaneously surface repressed emotions in their nervous system so that they have to face them and then they get to go through their own healing process. So, in many ways, this is a win win circumstance when we're looking at this from more so of an evolutionary perspective. This is, of course, a very taboo form of spirituality, and not everyone is meant to do this. This is why I say this service is not for everyone. But for those of you that are in resonance with this is very valuable. And there are more people that are starting to gravitate towards this type of work. Okay. Now, also, as a part of this, all the members who are taking place in this service are getting entrance into what is called an Atlantean crystal grid, which is basically a crystal matrix structure that I've designed myself, which is very advanced, and it supports the entire development process of the participants who are going through this ritualistic service. Okay, so it's designed to completely support that. And it even has a little torus field that sits in the center of this grid that is consistently pushing out EMF frequencies based on the different frequencies that I'm choosing to play, that is streamlining to everyone who's inside of the grid. So I take the participants and get some pretty intimate information from them and place it inside of the grid so that they can get this energetic support. Okay? So if this is something that you're interested in, definitely consider it. Once again, this is all within the first link in this description. That is the Patreon, and we'll leave it there. Now, as we go into the second link below, this is where you can book one-on-one calls with me, or this is where you can book a mentorship with me. The mentorship is literally going to be the most intimate way to personally work with me. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going deep into working through some of your own repressed emotions inside of the nervous system. We're going to be going into past traumas. We're going to be creating a healthy foundation together so that we can start creating safety and regulating your nervous system to do this deeper work. And then later down the road, if you're interested, what we can do is we can get into some of the initiatory practices of occultism. And we can do that together. And I do have a process that I take people through when it comes to this work. So if you're interested in any of this, that is in that second link. Now, also within that same second link, you have an option to book a tarot card reading with Alexia. Okay. She is a very gifted tarot card reader. There's a reason why I have her doing my readings on my channel. And she's done my own reading several times, and it's been very accurate every time she's done it. She can pinpoint exactly where you are in the present moment, tell you what basically is going on in regards to a self development standpoint and an occult standpoint to utilize different types of symbolism to show you a deeper reflection of what's happening, and then tell you what to expect moving into your near future, while also connecting it back to the Kabbalistic tree to show you different spheres and potential archetypes that you might be accessing in these moments that you're going through, whether it's the present moment or the near future or the recent past. Okay, so if this is something you're interested in, definitely look into that as well. She's already done well over a handful of different readings and she's getting tons of valuable feedback. So if you're interested, that's also in that second link. You can book the reading with Alexia. Okay. Now, in the third link, this is the Lucifer's Foundation course. So, this is a course where you are gaining instant access to 11 modules that you will have for the rest of your life. And this is going to give you step by step instructions that you can literally follow to a T. And you will absolutely, if you're really following it, you will get results when it comes to developing a energetic relationship with the energy known as Lucifer. Okay, it's a very powerful course. Me and Nick partnered on this course together, and we put a lot of time and energy into it, sharing our own personal experience and our own personal understandings from being deeply connected with this energy of Lucifer. And we made sure that we, talked about everything that was absolutely important and vital to know about to develop a healthy relationship once again with this energy. So there are tons of people that have purchased this course, literally tons of people. People are buying it every single day. So if this is something that you feel like you resonate with, definitely consider it. It is the third link below, and we will leave it there. Now, in the fourth link, this is my YouTube memberships. So, first thing that I would like to say is I would absolutely love to have you join the YouTube community. Okay. It's always nice to see familiar faces. It's always nice to have a group of like minded individuals all in one different, all in one location. And it just, creates an energy of a big family or a big community. And that is something that I absolutely love to see. And it just makes me happy every time I see someone who's a YouTube member. Now, on top of that, you're also getting access to a bunch of different benefits from the membership options, depending on which tier you are. I'm not going to go into that here. If that's something you're interested in, definitely look into it, but I would love to have you a part of the family. Okay. So that's the fourth link. Fifth link below, this is my book recommendations for you. Okay. So in the fifth link, you are gaining access to a 4 ebook bundle that is going to give you absolutely everything you need to know in a nutshell when it comes to working with the angels, the demons, understanding the tree of life, the tree of death, and the tunnels of Set, as well as the archetypal pathways. So, this is like the skeletal structure of really what occultism is all about from its more initiatory perspective. And it becomes so valuable because you have all these different tools from the ebooks that you can always refer back to understand what it is that you're working with and how to get the sigil, and then what energies are you pulling on in regards to your own initiations, etc. Okay, so it's very valuable, potent occult information, but it's broken down in a specific way that is extremely understandable and extremely easy to digest. So it's not like you're having to read between the lines and you're having to figure out all these different riddles from this $600 book compared to this $400 book. It's all in one location. Now, the best part about all this is that these 4 ebooks literally are the cost of $128, which is absolutely nothing because in reality, what we could do is we could sell it for over $400 because of what's embedded within these books. So all that I ask is that if you make your purchase, also recommend it to someone else that you feel like will gain value from it as well. Okay. And tons of people have already purchased the books. People are buying it once again every single day. So if this is something that you're interested in, get your hands on it. It is that fifth link below. Okay. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to wrap it up. I appreciate all of you very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.